for this evening. Tureeda Mikell, poet, griot story, medicine woman, named Woman of Truth, activist for holism, is a Qigong energy therapist, lyricist, executive director of Tree of Life Foundation Literacy Health Project. She has published over 70 student anthologies of poetry for at-risk youth via California Poets in the Schools throughout 5 Bay Area counties since 1989. She's a UC Berkeley 96 Bay Area Writing Project Fellow. She has opened and also published with iconic poet activist Amiri Baraka, cult film star Saul William, and Kenyan writer, professor, and PEN International Award winner Nguyen Wa Tong Tiong. Thank you. She featured at SOAN, Soul of a Nation, at the De Young Museum as featured poet in Fire Thieves, curated by Kim Shuk and sponsored by the American Academy of Poets. Now, Tureeda Mikell was featured poet storyteller for Black Panther 55th anniversary, Octavia Butler's 70th birthday. That's cool. And was Ethnotech Nuwa delegate poet storyteller in Beijing, China, in collaboration with the University of Beijing. Many accolades. Would you please now welcome Tureeda Mikell to the stage.
Thanks so much for having me here, and I look forward to sharing, as well as an open mic, I believe there's going to be. Wow, so today is Valentine's Day, but for some reason, the back of my mind keeps wanting to call it Halloween, and I'm not sure why. My godson said it had a lot to do with, you know, people dressing up in costume and, you know, sharing candy and such. So I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. But sometimes when you're invited to events and it's the day of, you know, a popular event, you feel obligated to do something. I am going to share a piece just as an opening before I get into the others, but just to give thanks for the ritual of existence and us being here. The ritual. Springs spiral spirits. Immortals jump, striking match, ignites heat, moisture release. Chariot's funk sweet swings low, let us ride from the other side. Where metaphysical tones enthrone homes, bathe bone, call out, oh God, oh my God, on a good day. 9 moons sanctify array of sons and daughters, canonizes flesh, stone water, through scenes seen and unseen. Heartbeats immortality, empirical loom, spherical room, lyrical tunes sing joy and pain, sunshine and rain, because everybody got a little light under the sun. 5 cosigns, 5 sisters and brothers. Math, logic baptizes lives of fathers from mothers. Fibonacci wheel keeps on turning, rolling, rolling, rolling down a river, sealed in red mitochondrial reels. Mama's helix keeps us real, rocking steady, calling this song exactly what it is, humming all kinds of medicinal lullabies up in here. Lips, eyes, ears, nose, crown, tether, 4 extensions down. How great thou art, poets, dancers, musicians, scientists, farmers, mathematicians, paying dues, crossing toll booths, en route to mysteries, sometimes crude, but adores the magic of molding hues of you, baby. This next piece, and that was just kind of like an opening to acknowledge, what love is, what the procreation of our life is. Okay. Oh, wow. This is another love poem because, love is a subjective term, right? You have love many different things. This is the love of virtual reality. Yeah, people have love of virtual reality. This took place at the Exploratorium some years ago. It's just an experience I had, and I built on it from there. Gather one group of astrophysicists and physicists. Separate 3 parts physicists to 2 parts astrophysicists. Split right and left brain hemispheres. Pair, never let the right hand know what the left is doing. Ooze into a time capsule. Allow at least 50 years to prepare. Stir in 100% academic self-entitlement, 100% non-systemic English conditioner, 100% Queen Liz defender of one faith. Wrap in one God, one fate, one baptism. Detach sky chief from women, children, family. Divide female from Holy Trinity. Debone her natural birth ability. Collect Adam, Eve, Mary, Joseph stories. Steep them in artificial insemination. Salt flesh heavily in sin. Born broken, marinate nuns, girls, virgins in Jesus. Strip sexuality, bathe in virtual reality. Look, but don't feel, smell, but don't taste. Whip in self-flagellation. Add you can't have your cake and eat it too. Prepare 1 tome each of Frankenstein and Stepford Wives stew, because you'll need that to make the roux. Pour in hex cum, lex become. Non-causal egregious microaggressions, drop dollops of hegemonic word spells, sweetened with war is peace. Extract verbs from acts of nouns, person, place, and things. Coat in public relation, house of persuasion. Repeat 7 times for adults, 14 times for children. Bind throat and feet before broiling. Watch what is said and done before boiling. Next, the neck will stiffen according to formulas need. Let simmer until bipolarism ascends. Skim magnetic poles, dislocate souls, crystallize dissonance, float on canine dog obedience, fetch, heal, stay, poach the field therein or play. Be our recipe will change accordingly. Tenderize, then pan fry vagus nerve. Infuse holographs into somatic cortex. Make sure there is no there. If intellect or mindfulness declines due to compartmentalize good, use it. Squeeze consent manufactured into physiologic tenets. Place over high flame. Expel immunity. routine. Insert AI, name, robotics, mRNA, sodium nitrite, nitrates, formaldehyde, freeze, thaw, then drizzle over synapse to increase lethargic. Naps. Many of you feeling sleepy these days? Fold in copious amounts of gluten-rich, chemically complex carbs, mash into a brain fog. Memory and bone loss. Roll in anger, fear, violence, and depression. Merge meta media goggles. Implant Siri attention harvesting monitor. Turn on undetected entertainment heat. Bake 40, 50 years. Remove. Test if complete. Query if nausea, insomnia, vomiting, headaches, or death occurred. Did disorientation, dizziness, or telomeres sever? If so, it's ready. Set the sick aside for MDs, psychotherapists, psychologists, psychotherapists. No. Get big pharma to grow and fry. Form big greasy balls of brand name trends. Mark apps with device buying addictions. Cream parasympathetic nervous system, apply robotic voice rhythms, place on hypermedia racks, gauge how many psyches cracked and who gets backed on simulating alternative facts. Serve generously on platters that matter. You'll have consumers oblivious, autistic, tactless, lustfully numb, renunciate instinct, become monetized for their blindness. This sugar high iced tea was brought to you by the law of exclusion, masters of biz science, where sterilizing the public's mind without their knowledge is their most important product. And there's so much more, but you see this, you've been set up for something. So it's been amazing. So spells, labyrinths, and my 9-year-old grand. Yes. Let's begin with him. We see things happening with our children and grandchildren. Something has been changed. And so we do what we can, but pay attention closely. My bright 9-year-old grand holds new toys affluent parents have purchased. Some are characters from games he plays on his little box locked in manufacturing consent to, I don't know. He enthusiastically exhibits the names of Balloon Man, Dog Man, and Pizza Man, and briefly explains Pizza Man's reward system. He then asks, do you know them? I said, no, I don't know them. He looks at me, purses his full lips in disgust, 11's taking position between his thick brows, slowly shakes his head left to right, stops midway, giving me the side eye, then scans me up and down like, gee, Ma, you don't know anything. Then glares at me, stating with absolute near tween authority, The characters I just mentioned to you can be verified because I met them personally on YouTube. His reasoning slaps my mouth open, my jaw drops, my voice gone, my duty as Gma leaves of its own will, words of encouragement nowhere to be found. I'm too stunned, maybe too scared to see where he's headed. Though I did note his use of the word verified and thought, good on him. I can't remember ever using that word at his age. Then again, I don't recall Bugs Bunny, Daffy Duck, Popeye, Bullwinkle, and Squirrel real characters I had met personally on TV. They were always somehow a cartoon, make-believe. I observed my grandson turn and walk away from me confidently, his head up, his prescient cognition on hold. 11's now perched between my eyes. My head shakes left to right, giving him the side eye. Speechless, I verify my grandson's reality has been plucked. I shared this with a linguist, and he said, oh, he really went in on it. I mean, it's like the details he covered. Now, this poem deals with homonyms, words that sound the same, but they are not because they have a slightly different meaning, but then maybe not in this poem, but it's called Labyrinth's Spell, Double Talk. Sticks and stones, breaks bones and homes, takes fish hook star from eyes. Altar, altar, ark, ark, covenant, government, enterprise, enterprise, prophets, prophets, sail, sail, worship, worship, pray, pray, peace, peace, sun, sun, perish, perish, jewel, jewel, good God. Why alter earth's altar? Silence the ark for an ark? Why douse sacred fire of every kind? Who enters prize for this enterprise? Why did the son of the sun worship with warships? Prey on those who pray for peace? Set sail for sail of peace with paradise or paradise? Government's prophet gamble with prophet's covenant of light? Will jewels perish and perish of jewels? Whose good is sacrificed for the concept of God? And I end with that last good God. God is actually from the word good. It's a weak declension, but it's still there. And I feel it's just necessary for us to pay attention to our spells that we're calling. Yeah. Hope you all are doing well out there. There's a number of things to share, and I'll try to just get through them quickly. 5 gates of heaven. This portion of that I just read to you, the 9-year-old grand spells labyrinths, and this portion of the 5 gates of heaven is values, how we value things, how we see ourselves in something that we've been told is supposed to be, yet some of us don't feel too good in it. So this is how someone may value the church. Church fathers say star knowledge is sin, devil's work, fortune telling. In secret, we learn sin means to miss the mark. We watch church fathers miss the mark often. They have no ledge, footing, or balance. They overlook heaven's fortune, stars, covenant with earth. We are made of stars. They watch over us. Their celestial rhythm is our rhythm. Stellar instruction feeds us well. Food, soil grows richer, water cleaner. Church fathers tell us, pray the Our Father. But why? You provide no integrity to this prayer's word. On earth as it is in heaven, church prayer speaks without deed. Their God spell has no trust. Churchman tells us, you're not to know how the heavens go, you're to know how to go to heaven. Their Christ is our crisis. Heaven on earth is our living word. Churchmen talk out their head like they want us dead. Yes, Valentine's Day, right? But, for the love of life and the love of clarity, I'm here. So I'm just doing my thing as a fellow poet. Every poet, and there's some great poets, there are just so many great poets out here. So I'm thankful to be one of them and invited here to read with you this evening. Okay, so messages from the other side. This is something that took place. I used to be an investigative news reporter, so there are things that when they happen, I just have to take note. And so for whatever reason, this took place. There are things that happen to us from the other side, that spirit that speaks or moves you to do something. Preface of 3 women. 1987, Dr. Frances Cress Welsing, 3rd generation Black psychiatrist in her family, speaks to a conference about the use of her mind's computer. She said, while walking past the library, my head kept turning to a book title displayed in the window. It was then I knew my mind's computer had alerted me to an answer I had been questioning. Somebody's watching. Somebody cares. Somebody's watching. I can feel it in the air. 1990, after Concepts Cultural Gallery meeting, nearing the exit, something stops me. My head turns left, looks down at 3 stacks of newspapers on the ground, headlines of no interest. I step forward, but again, I am stopped, unable to move. Somebody's watching. Somebody cares. Head turns again. This time, eyes look down, staring at a stack of papers nearest the exit, where it seems I'm no longer reading headlines that face me. Instead, I'm seeing something my 2 eyes can't. Magnetic force pulls my hand downward, roots beneath papers, fingers clasp what I can't see and removes a headline that seals my fate. White Privilege, Unpacking the Invisible Knapsack of Racism by Wellesley professor Peggy McIntosh, who Her byline actually read, I was taught not to see racism. I was taught to see racism only in individual acts of meanness, not in invisible systems conferring dominance on my group. Of the 3 groups of newspapers, this was the only issue among them. Somebody's watching, somebody cares. Years in the classroom, I witnessed racial attacks. Like, your people were always slaves. You should be glad we saved you. Look at what you've accomplished. Amazing. No history before we came here. I make copies of the article and place it in teachers' boxes. Over the years, I'd hear Peggy McIntosh on the radio speaking somewhere across the country or watch her on YouTube. 23 years pass. The white privilege article pinned to my desk calls my attention more than usual. I review it, put it down, move on. But days later, walking to the car from Oakland Farmers Market, facing Oakland's Convention Center's large windows, I see African, Indian, Latinx, Asian children's books on display and wonder, what is the name of this event? I didn't hear about it. And at that moment, Native American couple emerged from the convention doors, dressed in red, black, white, ornamented in turquoise, their smiles beaming. When I asked, what's the name of this event? What's going on here? Why are there so many people? I didn't know it was going to take place. It's the 3-day multicultural conference called NAME, the National Association of Multicultural Educators. You should come in and check it out. Well, I put more money in the meter. Feel a need to walk in, feel led to an area that displays freedom lifted posters touring the civil rights era of Mississippi and other nearby states. After my visit, the vendor says, why don't you visit the table next to this one? It's something I think you need to check out. When I go there, my eyes instantly engage a powder blue folder that reads the Privilege Conference. I pick it up to examine and the vendor just then asked, have you heard of this conference? Only as it relates to an article read years ago. White privilege, unpacking the invisible knapsack of racism, I answer. Yes, that'd be the one. I believe Peggy McIntosh is here. What? Here? Yes, she spoke a little while ago. Where? Vendor gives directions to Peggy's table. As I begin my trek toward her, I realize I don't have a clue what she looks like and didn't think to ask. Somebody's watching, somebody cares. I keep walking past vendor displays. No one looks like Peggy McIntosh to me because I'm expecting a long-haired hipster woman dressed in new age tie-dye long skirts with a namaste look. I asked a friend I see on the way if she knows Peggy McIntosh. Said she didn't, but could direct me to someone who might, and introduces me to the producer of seldom seen documentaries on civil rights. After I exchange, I asked him if he knows Peggy McIntosh. I sure do. I sure do. Yes, she looks like Santa Claus's wife, if you can imagine that. I believe she's still here. Her table is on this side of the aisle. Thank you. Thank you so much. and hurry down the aisle where my eyes engage his description, reading a book. Dang, she does look like Santa's wife. And soft tears form, but why? Are you Peggy McIntosh? Yes, I am. I have been distributing your article, White Privilege, for years. It's an honor to meet you. Why are you so honored? You know this information already, don't you? Yes, I do, but I wasn't looking for it. Your article presented itself to me. Tilting her head, she squints her eyes and asks, was your experience otherworldly? Yes, it was. Do you have time to sit with me? It's why I'm here. I walk to the other side of the table where a chair awaits me. Somebody's watching, somebody cares. Interesting your experience being otherworldly. Tell me what happened. I explained how my hand was magnetically drawn underneath a stack of newspapers to withdraw her article and how it was the only article, paper, actually found among the 3 stacks there. She then tells me her story. I was accused of being a racist, she said. I couldn't believe it. I considered myself and other whites I respect nice people. However, white men, though nice and polite, denied studies for first year, women's studies for first year, undergrads, calling it extracurricular. That's when the alarm sounded for me. How can your mother, sister, or wife be extra anything? So when she understood that, she understood something was wrong and asked for truth to be revealed. She said, I prayed in earnest, couldn't believe what I was shown because I thought I was a good white woman. However, I've learned thinking you're nice is not synonymous or the same as behavior. Somebody's watching, somebody cares. In 1987, Dr. Frances Cress Welsing confirmed the use of her mind's computer when her head kept turning to a book title displayed in the library's window. It was then she knew her mind had alerted her to an answer she had been questioning. In 1990, my body was magnetically drawn to Peggy McIntosh's article, White Privilege, unconscious of what I'd be unpacking. And in 2013, I'm drawn to a conference of which I am unaware. Meet Peggy McIntosh. Listen to her otherworldly education, using dreams, while our collective realities witness somebody's watching, somebody cares. We can feel it in the air. This next piece is another one that's kind of directed. It just took me there. This is also stories from the other side. Moon's interlude, from the other side. Extrasensory perception is a term used by the dead to describe the living, he said. Journal dated April 30th, 2007 speaks of the cultural decline of Earth climate justice, women, and the debasement of children. I note a conversation I had about a popular TV program where a doctor tells a woman pregnant for the first time that she's carrying a parasite she will birth house, feed, clothe, and educate for the next 18 years. So women birth parasites now? 2. Moon waxes near full, 28 degrees Scorpio, regenerates mysteries, blood memories, tide waters rise in room consumed by magnetic pools, pulls me to a bookcase, tunnels into a business card's first name, Barbara, then funnels left at a book titled Awareness. More unwished for acts occur, shifts my attention back and forth from name Barbara to a book titled Awareness. Barbara, Awareness. Barbara, Awareness. Barbara, Awareness. Am I being told to look up Barbara's name in this book? 3. Flipping through the table of contents, I find one Barbara among 53 contributing authors and essayists. Barbara Lawrence, professor of humanities at State University, New York, was editor for McCall's Red Book and The New Yorker. In 1973, she contributed an essay for women entitled 4-Letter Words Can Hurt You. In it, Barbara addressed 3 concerns. The first, metaphors that describe women as skirt, chick, tail, or broad. Second, names for having sex with women. Did you hit that, get a piece of that, or did you screw that? And third, disowning woman's biological identity, where she said it seems to be a growing need for men to no longer see the difference between the female channel through which all are conceived and born and the anal outlet common in both sexes. She wrote this in 1973. Who drew her name to me? Who knew she'd be the only Barbara in the book? Why was a card with her name placed adjacent to the book that hooked me? Who is the overseer linking phases of my moon into the future? What arc by whose covenant am I subject? 4. 5 years later, April 4th, 2012, AOL headline reads, "Women wake up believing they have a penis and no breast." Well, I thought, can anyone say possession? God did give Adam dominion over every mofo thing, right? Father, Son, Holy Ghost. Where is woman mentioned among the heavenly hosts? Genders in disguise, AI on the rise, church submits, woman, ghost that witch. Oh well, Orwell said, an effect can become a cause, reinforcing the original cause, producing the same effect in an intensified form, and so on indefinitely. And the East Indian said, name the God your people worship. So, how many minutes do I have? All the minutes. Okay. So those were messages from the other side. Now we're going to get into a little bit of reincarnation. And that's the only way I could describe this event, because of the way the child acted. Her actions were precious. Toddler's iron memory. Try bright blue sky Sunday. No clouds cover Sienna Brown family today. They are Company, little ones learning how to use her new feet. Walks busy along the store-filled street. Scrubbed shine new in pink, white ruffles, lace tier socks and patent leather shoes. Hair crowned in 2 afro puffs. They watch their living doll move ahead, explore her independence. She walks past doggies in the window, past Philly cheese and fries, past fresh fried donuts with maple frosting wafting the air. Keeps her steady pace until eyes engage an old clothes cleaner, clothes for over 20 years, displaying 8 antique irons. She stops, stares, and spots one of them, begins to speak Tolerese as though explaining its use long before plug-in irons or her parents' parents came to be. Mesmerized, parents can't believe what they are witnessing. Wish they could translate what their baby is saying. Small index finger points as if giving a history lesson, looks at the iron, nods up and down, then up at the parents again. Guess she's telling them how clothes were cared for back then, how hard it was to load hot coals in the iron's belly, or we think that's what she's saying. Baby girl's past life strings a rhyme, returns to iron her wrinkle in time. So those, those little things, you're just like, what? And I was like, it was just fascinating to see. This next piece deals with interspecies communication. And some of us go through that. I know I do. I go through things with birds. I even had a principal come up to me to tell me about what she had gone through with a situation that happened on this day, but I'll just read it because I'm going to tell the story. I should just read it. Synchronicity and the bird. I'm a synchronistic word junkie. I watched the universe ride alongside plants, animals, species, and human beings, fuse life into historical mysteries like that Friday in San Francisco. Yeah. Late autumn breeze ends poetry class at John Muir Elementary. Last child runs out of the door, says, yeah, that was fun. Tall windows, televised gray clouds blocking sun's last bit of light. Keys clanging against the door. It's Marilyn, the elder Asian custodian. She's about to lock up. It's cold and windy outside, she says. If you leave now, I can lock up. Sounds good, I answer. I throw on my long wool coat, pick up my book bag, and walk quickly through the door she locks behind us. We merge into a long hallway of student written work and art displays when Marilyn asks, how are the kids doing this poetry? How are they doing with this poetry? You know what I'm trying to say. Which wasn't peculiar at all for her. Many times, standing at the door, listening, smiling, showing concern, she'd be there, watching. Let me show you, I say. Reaching down in the book bag that reads, weaving a web of words around the tree of life, I pull out the California Poets in School State Anthology entitled wilderness of dreams. Just as I'm about to show Marilyn my student poem, I see Cecilia, the principal, near the exit. She notices me and waves to get my attention. When Marilyn and I reach Cecilia, I mentioned that my student and I have been published in this year's state anthology. Oh, really? What did you write? Reaching for the anthology. Surprised, I hand her the book, thinking she'd have more interest in my student's poem. Oh, okay, my poem is called Holy Ghost. It's on page 80. Oh, she responds, eyes wide with wonder. She opens the book to my poem. I begin reciting it from memory. Cecilia stops reading and listens. When I finish, Marilyn jumps in. I like the way you read that poem, nice. As though the letter I gave it more power. However, Cecilia appears childlike, mystified. She had, after all, been a nun. She had been a nun before becoming a principal. How serendipitous it is for me to hear this poem after all that's happened to me today. What happened, I asked, trying to collect another story. She immediately engages us on her journey, raising her voice, enunciating each word. On my way to work this morning, a bird flew alongside my car for 2 whole blocks. Can you believe it? 2 whole blocks. And when I stopped, it stopped, landed in front of me on the hood of my car, stared me right in the eye, then flew away. It was amazing. I know there was a message there. Cecilia's plump face blushes red pink as she continues. What does it all mean? And to think October 4th was St. Francis of Assisi's birthday. Today is October 6th. Birds always flew around him. He worshiped birds. He was from Sicily. My name is Cecilia. My name comes from Sicily. Now your poem, Holy Ghost, what does it all mean? With arms outstretched, as if to look up to an omnipotent being, she asks once more, what does it all mean? How wonderful it is to fly in the emancipating skies of a poem's insight. Holy Ghost, where heaven's bank on earth shorelines mothers, where tides rise and break by sun, moon, and stars, and children come forth as birth ships, prophets of immortalities. That story is in this book along with some other things that I read earlier. And now I'm going to do the one that we still can't understand how this came to be, but it nevertheless happened. And it's called How Did I Know? And many of us, you have things that happen to you, but what is your, what is your response to it? This world is an amazing place. It's truly amazing. And anyway, here it is. Oh. In living room, on floor mat one afternoon, napping between whirls of the seen and unseen, birds crying song touches me. I know, I hear you ask, How can one determine if birds are crying? And if they are indeed crying, by what method of tonal frequency could you detect birds' crying song? I do not know. I can't tell you. The refrain awakened me from what I believed a dream. But when I opened my eyes, I could still hear them weep. When I stood up, I could still feel their misery. And when I opened the door from the second floor, my eyes were drawn down, witnessing brown birds fluttering wildly over lifeless kin on the ground. How did I know? How did I know the bird's song of sorrow? And these are things that, that's one side of it. And then the other side, the gentrified bird warning. Upstairs, West Oakland Bark, I wait for train when pain from above nudges my brain. I look up, little bird stares down, asks, what you looking at? Balance between spiked beam, says, you took our trees, homes, dare us to live, dare us to rest, build a nest, have a family, you lie. We see you ride inside that loud, fat worm running underground. You cut away our trees for that? When our Savior, Pterodactyl the Most High, returns, he'll suck you out, that loud ass maggot, and spit out your bones. To hell with you, we're here. Turns her back, attends home, spikes, threatening her life at every turn. And I think I'm going to end with a poem. There's, oh my, this, oh, I left out this baby. I left out this baby. I'll end after this poem. Sentenced memory. Seafood Market Friday. Dark cocoa man-child of 3 walks proudly alongside his ruggedly handsome daddy, focused on a dinner run. Time rhyme explains. Little one knows not to fall too far behind. Fish on display on his way, catches an array of belly-up fins to investigate. Many specimens within reach, he tilts his head, stares curiously, does not care if anyone is watching. This well-stocked store is his laboratory to experiment in. He begins using his primal sense, smell, press his index finger on fish scales resistant to flesh breaking, moves aroma to nose, inhales deep, chest expands under red jacket I see revealing his lungs capacity, is serious about this investigative sampling. Eyes closed, examines interior, his nose knows, then slowly opens his soul's mirror on me, exhaling an old being, looking far beyond his years. Fragrance pulling him back to his mother's water breaking, transforming him from amphibian to human. The scent that sentenced his existence. And this is ending with, I did that, yes. I'm ending with a sparrow's eye. And this was another interspecies connection. One sunny Sunday afternoon, ascending stairs at Jack London Square, on the courtyard partially barred, I sit at its pinnacle. By bathe this day of heat, My senses drink greedily. Vault of heaven, bright blue, swaddles family hues. Women, men, children, babies, eyes, laugh, talk pleasing, folk walking easy, winds blowing breezy. I lift my head toward skies when suddenly sparrow graces my horizon, lands right in front of me, delivers another kind of peace. I feel silent, serene, when all at once its feathers flutter. My spine tingles, I shudder. Like mirrors, we look directly into one another and cock our heads to the same side. A moment of unity confides. We share and stare. Then sparrow flies and flies with a piece of my light and sparrows in me. Thank you. Thank you. I realized I had left, I did what I was supposed to do because it has been an intense time. And thank you so much again for having me. I only have one book left. I realized that I brought with me, and thanks to the audience and everyone that showed. Yeah, these were works I'm reading for the purposes of allowing people to know that there's something else outside the mundane that we face every day. The world is thoroughly amazing, and you see that in children's eyes, or poets or musicians, artists, you know. I mean, I said, wow, that's a dendrite over there. Someone actually knitted a dendrite, you know. So I was a nurse and you know, science, biological science just always took me. And so when I looked at it, I said, wow. And I thought it was a painting at first until I actually walked up on it. But yeah, we give thanks. There are things that we really should pay attention to. And just, you know, thank you for having me. So.